What's going on, everybody? This is Nick from House of Paint 203, bringing you part 3 of the Beholder Zombie series. All that's really left to do with this guy is to bring out some of those finer details. We're going to be going in heavily on the eye, as well as the spikes, as well as the eye stalks. And we're going to bring up his flesh with a final highlight following our ink fest in part 2. So we still have a lot of stuff to do, and we're going to jump right in here and do that. But before we do, allow me to remind you to smite like and slam subscribe so that you could stay up to date on all the latest content that I'm putting out there in my quest to paint the manual. We're moving right along, but I feel like we haven't even cracked the surface yet. There are over 300 monsters in the monster manual, and I think I'm close to 30, so maybe roughly a tenth of the way there, but we still have a lot of stuff to do. But as they say, it is not about the destination, it is about the journey, and I'm having a great time, and I'm also having a great time interacting with all of you. The comments and the feedback have been spectacular, so keep those coming. And also keep some suggestions coming as to what projects you'd like to see me working on this channel. As I said in a previous episode, I do have a pipeline that should bring me into March or April, but you know, after that I'm pretty much open to suggestions. So if you have something that you want to see, if there is a project that you are waiting to work on and looking for some inspiration with, let me know and I'll be happy to work on it and also shout you out on the channel. With all that being said, let's jump right in. Before things get too crazy, I want to go in on his flesh with a little dry brush of Minotaur hide, just to bring out these kind of final highlights here. As you can see, it's doing a pretty nice job. Also trying to get the points on his stalks. Take a little bit on my brush, very trace amount, and start to apply it to the outer edge of the lip. Being very subtle here, and I'm doing this first because I don't want to run the risk of dry brushing over a finished eye or anything like that. At this point in the project, that could be a little troublesome. Some of these edges here, just like that. Speaking of edges, now going to be using a Rosy shadow to highlight the edges of his gums specifically. So again, name of the game here is thin coats. Just some upper edges. Just like that. Similar on the inside of his mouth, highlighting the certain points on his tongue. But I am going to be going into his mouth with what I want to say is going to be a black wash as well. I'm not quite done with the inside of his mouth yet. The inside of his mouth is going to be disgusting, as it should be. He is a zombie. You don't know where he's been. All right, there we go. Okay, I want to go back with the khaki a little bit, with a dry brush of the khaki along his little spikes that are protruding out of his face, like his little spike beard here. So I'll just see if I can grab these edges. Bring some color to that. Very, very minimal paint on my brush here. And I'm really trying to get like the spikes, not the whole thing. Just trying to get the little spikes. I'm going to use a little orange ochre. I'm gonna mix this with a little dead white. Just a little dead white. I don't want this to be overbearing. Very, very thin, very, very light. I'm worried that might be too light, but what I think I'm gonna try is to bleed that in. With a little pure orange ochre. Let that be for now. I'm going to take some heavy Bluegrey. Pop it up on these eye stalks. To only have a faint impression of the pupils. Here. Applying a couple layers of the orange ochre over these. Try to reestablish this one as well. Give those a moment to dry. I'm going to use a little, take a little of that white and mix it with a little of that khaki so that I can get my final highlight. Nice. Spikes. I just think I took too much off my brush. All right, now I'd like to revisit that eye. I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing on the stalks. Very thin. Back over the center eye. I want those pupils to be very faint. I'm gonna let those dry, and while it's drying, I'm gonna go into the mouth with the black wash I wanted to use. Let that dry. And let's see what we can do. I want to take this sepia wash and I want to kind of outline the rim of these eyeballs. I'm going to go into the main eye here with a little bit of white. Create a faint little glint there. Oh. All right, cool, there we go. Darkness back out in the corners. push it back. Establishing that pupil after the last pass. Going to the teeth here. I think on the teeth I'm going to use a khaki. Looking okay. I think gonna put some subtle accents of Rosy's skin along his mouth. And along his eye. Maybe a little on the curves of his face up there. Beholder zombie is almost there. All right, so I went ahead and attached the two eye stalks that I've been working on the side. Those were off camera, but I followed the same steps that I followed on these eye stalks. So everything I did on these eye stalks, I went ahead and did on these eye stalks that were detachable. I've also been working on the secondary eye stalks that have the various rays that the Beholder zombie is shooting out. So I will, I'll also show you those when they're done. I'm using different colored inks to paint the clear parts. But for now, going in on his teeth, just about the last thing I'm gonna do on the main figure is just kind of outline the teeth. And for this, I'm using a stone gray. All right, now I'm gonna take a glaze of orange ochre. When I say glaze, it means I'm just getting this color and I'm really just kind of dulling it down, or watering it down, I should say. And I'm applying it to certain areas of the eye to make the eye look a little bit more cohesive. I'm leaving the upper curve to kind of catch that light right there. But I think I'm gonna go ahead and leave that alone. So the main figure, I believe, I'm ready to call complete. Now we're gonna go ahead and work on his base. All right, so moving on to the next phase here, I have, as I said earlier, I have been working on the secondary eye stalks, and these eye stalks have the each different ray that the zombie beholder shoots. So this is for gameplay. If the zombie beholder is shooting out a ray and you want to supplement the normal eye stalk with the eye stalk that's shooting, you can do that. So for these, what I'm going to do is what I've already done is I have applied inks to each clear portion. So what I've done here is I've applied inks to each clear portion. As you can see, I've got a green ink, my violet ink, a yellow ink, and a orange ink. I don't have a straight up orange ink, so I've mixed a red ink and a yellow ink. And now what I'm going to do is I am going to dry brush them so that they have a little bit of an edge to them. And the first dry brush I'm going to do is on the purple ray. This one will kind of lend itself to some real good dry brushing because it does have some really awesome texture on it. For a highlight on the green, I'm using a Grung green. It's almost like a pastel kind of green. I'm gonna streak a little bit. That's good. That's all I want, is for this to pick up the edges. As you can see, that is what it's doing. I'm gonna do the same thing on this side. This lightning is actually made in a way where it's easy to pick up the edges here. So that is actually real cool. Move that off to the side. Yellow looks good. For the yellow, I'm going in with, I'm gonna try a white on the yellow here, just to see. Again, I don't want too much paint on the brush. I want next to nothing. All right. Gonna wait for that orange one to dry completely before I go in with the dry brush on it. Now what I want to do is go into the base here. As you can see, I also took the masking tape off of the stalk, and the stalk is now clear. And on the base, I'm gonna just pretty much just dry brush the rest of the way out to close out the project. So I'm gonna start on the ground with a heavy gray. There's coat one. Now to close out. I'll go right for the stone gray. Add a little stone gray to that mix. Right on the dry brush. Adding that to the heavy gray. Now I'm just using a pure stone gray, really just focusing on the outer edges. All right, so the base is complete. Now I think it may be time to go back into that, but I want to try something else. I want to try some subtle objects source lighting. This typically makes me nervous, so but sometimes you just gotta take risks. So here is trying to find where the, there we go. I knew this went here. Does it go there? Looks like it goes there. All right, so this could potentially be, I don't know. I gotta find that blister pack. All right, let's see. No, I think, all right, so this goes here. Yeah, and then the orange goes here, I believe. Yeah. Orange definitely goes there. So what I'm gonna try is to create some object source lighting. So I'm gonna take a little green, just a little green. I need some jade green. Okay, so let's see. Yeah. So we've got a little of the object source lighting. Get out on him too, just like that. So it looks like the enervation ray is really hitting him. And we'll get the same thing with the orange. There she goes. She's displeased with something or other. May have to offer up a human sacrifice tonight or something. I'm gonna try out. A little orange on the side over there. Yeah. And then also on the side of his body. You would have to expect that would illuminate him to some extent. Very cool. All right, I like where this is going so far. I like where this is going. I'm not gonna lie. I'm like, my heart is pounding right now, but it's good. We're catching it live. All right, so these guys are off to the side, and now I believe this is going to be the purple up here. I think that's the purple, and then this is supposed to be the yellow. Yeah, that actually looks real cool. All right, so moment of truth. Going with a little purple here. Maybe across his face a little bit. Try to get some in his eye. No. You dare. Get a little on the stone. Oh man. And then it's just the yellow. Oh, that actually looks pretty cool, man. Some more. I thought about not doing object source lighting because I don't think it would make a lot of sense if the, with just like the standard stocks on, but I don't even think I'm gonna like put the standard stocks on because this just looks too freaking cool. Like really livens up this undead beast. So there it is. I'm ready to call him. Obviously I have to glue him down, but yeah, it's just a matter of gluing him down to the table stand. So as always, I thank you for joining me. Information on how to follow me on all my social media platforms is immediately following the video, as is information on how to follow Dominic Maria of Credit UK and Mike Donnarummo of MVD Studios. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you for the next one.